Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome back to the set review for the Grand Tournament. Joining me as always is Lineman.
Hello.
And we are doing Paladin in this episode. So, starting with the Seal of Champions, 3 mana common spell with give a minion plus 3 attack and Divine Shield. Now the question is, if you smash together a Blessing of Might and a protective shield, what was it called?
Hand of Protection.
Hand of Protection at high speed and out of mana, does that make a good card?
No.
I don't think so. It's better than both of those cards combined, but that's not saying a lot.
Yeah. It's tough because this is a very aggressive card that costs too much to be an aggressive deck.
If it cost 2, I think it'd be playable.
Yes. That being said, that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that it's specifically overcosted based on the effect. It's only overcosted based on the decks that it's going in.
Also based on the fact that while Blessing of Might is worth its mana cost, the protection might as well be 0.
Yes, yeah, Hand of Protection might also be, it's really worth half a mana.
It's like half a mana, which means this would be 2 to be playable in my opinion.
Yes.
Anyway, onto the Warhorse Trainer, 3 mana 2/4 common, with your Silverhand recruits at +1 attack. This is a persistent effect, not a battle cry. This is worse than Quartermaster, but Quartermaster is a 5-drop and has big swingy buffs. Now, the real question is, and this is not an obvious question to answer, is this playable, and if it is, do you run 1 or 2? Because even Quartermaster is played as a 1-of in a lot of decks.
I think it's definitely playable, and I think that when it's played, it will either be a 1-of or it will replace the 3-drop with the Humility.
Yeah, I think
Aldor Peacekeeper.
now that we've got Adric and also what's it called? I could see this being played as a 1, maybe 2, or probably 1-of in a heavy Silverhand recruit deck, like running Justicar Trueheart, probably the 3-drop. Why can't I never remember that name? Silverhand Regent.
Oh, Silverhand Regent, yes.
Running some sort of heavy, not necessarily an Inspire deck, but it functions like one a little bit.
Because really, this is a very different type of mid-range deck. It's a token mid-range deck than we have seen before. And the only reason why Aldor Peacekeeper is being played now in those mid-range decks is because there isn't any better option that fits with the deck. This fits better in a token-style deck than Aldor Peacekeeper does, and you need not have the Humility from Aldor Peacekeeper to deal with minions.
Because you have a quality and also bigger buffs and things like that. This is more like a Flame Tongue Totem type thing.
Right.
Not quite as powerful, but Flame Tongue Totem is a very powerful card. Now, as far as on curve goes, it's a bit lackluster. I remember when I went over this, I did have a bit of an issue, which is it costs 3 mana, and its effect and stats are based on 3 mana, but you don't really want to play this on curve, which means it's more of a 4-drop after muster, unless you're going second. And the thing with Quartermaster was being a 5-drop, its effect is strong enough that you can play it on turn 10.
Right. But I will say though, in my personal experience playing mid-range Paladin specifically, there are quite a number of turns that you actually play off curve. Quite a significant number of turns.
That is true. That is very, very true. Now, in Arena, I like this. It's a 3 mana 2/4 with an upside that's relevant. I think it's okay. In Constructed, we'll have to see. I'm a little bit on the fence with it. I think it'll see some play. I'm just not really sure what kind of deck list it will have to be in.
Yeah, I think so. I think that token Paladin is going to be very viable, and this would fit in well with it.
Note, for anyone who noted there, I didn't say deck, I said deck list, because I know what kind of deck it would be in, I just don't know the exact list that would make the most of it. Anyway, onto a card that no one's going to be making the most of, Murloc Knight. 4 mana, 3/4 Murloc with Inspire, summon a random Murloc. Now, at first I thought this was Battlecry, and I freaked out.
Yeah, Inspire makes it balanced. I think that's really good in Arena.
Oh, in Arena it's very, very good because you can play it on turn 4 and it's decent, or turn 6, and it's really good. Now in Constructed, it turns out random Murlocs most of the time suck.
Yes.
Most of the Murlocs are awful.
There are what? Maybe
1/1,
2 or 3
2/1.
Murlocs?
There's a lot of 2/1s, there's some 1/1s.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, there are
bad.
only 2 or 3 Murlocs that actually make you feel super excited about it.
Which is Old Murkai, the Shaman 2/5, and I
And
guess another Murloc Knight.
no, the Murloc War Leader.
Yeah, Murloc Knight would also be kind of funny.
Yes, that is true.
Imagine
Murloc
if you
Knight.
have the, what was it, the 2 mana 2/3 that lets you use it twice? You go Murloc Knight,
Yeah,
into Murloc Knight, into Murloc Knight.
yeah.
That would be on Funny Lucky Moments at some point. But yeah, that's crazy. But I don't foresee this being playing constructed in
Yeah.
Arena. I think it's good though.
Murloc Paladin won't be a thing because there's no way you're going to realistically make an aggressive Murloc deck work with Inspire. Inspire
Exactly.
is too slow for it.
Alright. Competitive Spirit, the obligatory Paladin secret of the set. 1 mana, rare secret. When your turn starts, give your minions +1/+1. I personally don't like this because its trigger requirement prevents it. The thing about a lot of trigger requirements on secrets that are good, if you look at Mirror Entity, if you look at Explosive, things like that, they're either very easy to trigger or they trigger at what I like to call the opportune moment. So in the case of Freezing Trap, it's when it would tempo them out because they can't replay it if it's on curve and it stops them from attacking. In the case of Bear Trap, it messes up their tempo. In the case of Mirror Entity, it means they have to deal with their own creature, so they can't play on curve. Their disruption is easy to trigger and requires your opponent to think. That is why a lot of secrets are good. Now, if we look at some of the secrets in Paladin, which aren't fantastic but have seen some play, we've got looking at, realistically, Avenge and Redemption are the only two that have seen some play.
Right?
Noble Sacrifice a long time ago, but not anymore.
Yes.
So Avenge, I don't really like, but it has seen some play. Why? Because your opponent tries to trade into a bunch of your minions, and then it messes up one of their trades. And Redemption does something similar. You get it on a Sunwalker, and your opponent is crying, or on a Tyrion because they can't get through it now, and it messes up one of their turns. And this is why a lot of secrets are good, and this secret does none of the above.
Okay, so I like this secret quite a bit. Now, bringing up your point about the secrets that already exist in Paladin, most of them are bad. Now, the reason why I like this secret is because this is, in my opinion, one of the best Paladin secrets, and I don't think I think that goes without question.
It's in top 3.
Yeah, and
Doesn't make it play.
Paladin, I promise Secrets Paladin is going to be a somewhat viable archetype because of Mysterious Challenger. And I understand that its trigger requirements are awkward. I understand that, but the effect that it gets after it triggers is pretty significant. And I don't think that Paladin's going to have an issue with this with finding turns for this to hit at least 2 minions.
The problem I have with it is it needs to hit 2. Unless you get it off Mysterious Challenger or Mad Scientist, then it could hit nothing and it would be fine. But that's just showing how good free secrets are. If it hits 1 minion and it's for free, it has got value. That's good. If it hits 2, I'll be happy with it. But if I actually play it as a card, which I don't think anyone will voluntarily, I would say you have to hit 3 to make it worth it.
Hey, it's 1 minion. I mean, not 1 minion. It's 1 mana. It's fitting into turns.
I'm thinking more about it being a card.
Yeah, that you choose to put in your deck for sure. But in Secrets Paladin, this is an obvious choice to put in. So
yeah, the only problem I have with
Secrets
Secrets
Paladin
Paladin is that they need good secrets. They have the support, as we'll see with Mysterious Challenger. The support is insane, but the problem is they need to have good enough secrets.
You can have those 6: the Avenge, Redemption, and Competitive Spirit. You can have those. Even Noble Sacrifice, I wouldn't be upset about putting that into the deck. And it's going to be good enough because you're going to get a lot of them for free because you can run 2 Mysterious Challengers along with
2 Mad Scientists. Yeah, that's a fair point. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. Argent Lance, 2 mana, 2/2 weapon with Battlecry Joust, and if yours costs more, 1/+1 durability. Now, a lot of people said bad cards because Weapon Gluttony. Now, the main point about this is that you would never play this in a low to the ground deck. This would be a Control or Dragon Paladin deck with things that start at 4 mana or higher. In fact, Muster for Battle is a spell, keep in mind.
Yes.
So you can play it in the lower on curve, it's not as bad. Now, because this would be a 2-drop, it fits into your curve better, and if it's a 2/2 weapon, that kind of sucks, but if it's a 2/3, that's value.
Yeah, right now, Control Paladins are running Shielded Minibot. Now they won't. They'll run this instead because Shielded Minibot is really not relevant for Control Paladins. It's just there to fill up space.
It's just there to maybe kill one drop.
Yeah. But now this does that 3 times. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before. Stormforged, was it Stormforged Axe?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. The 2/3 Overload Axe in Shaman. It's actually a good weapon if you have it on the board. The problem was the Overload was a bit of a drawback, which is annoying. It's not a Fiery War Axe, unfortunately. I think Stormforged Axe was always, until recently, where 3 HP became more of a normal in cards, at least in base set, it was very debatable which one was stronger, even with the drawback, which shows that 2/3 weapons are actually good. Whereas now the 3 attack matters more than 2 attack, so Fiery War Axe is better. But yeah, I think 2/3 weapons in general are still good, and I would still run them if I need the removal early. So I think that's good. Arena wise, I think it's actually worse than Arena. You
worse.
Do have
Well, worse than what?
in
Worse
Arena.
than Stormforged Axe? Yes.
Worse than Stormforged. I'm saying worse than it isn't constructed. I think. Because
yeah,
Joust
sure.
won't be hitting nearly as much. You also have weapon Gluttony Syndrome because you've got Muster for Battle, you've got True Silver Champion at Common, things like that.
But those are the only 2 weapons that you're drafting, right, as a Paladin?
One of them does have very high durability.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to count Muster for Battle, because I will gladly draft this along with Muster for Battles, and
Yeah,
not
that's
even
true.
consider the Muster for Battle to be a weapon, like it's a 1/4.
It's more the other way round, where the 1/4 replaces your Argent Lance.
I'm overriding that Muster for Battle weapon every time with an Argent Lance, and I'm okay with it.
The problem is it's the other way around on curve,
Yeah. Oh yes, that is
which
true.
is awkward.
That is
Although if you don't miss the joust, if you miss the joust, you can use it up actually. So that's good. Anyway, speaking of another joust card, we have a Tuskar Jouster. It's a walrus with a joust. Is that a Tusk Lance? He's on a turtle! Using his own tusks as a lance. I have a lot of respect for you now,
Well,
turtle.
how you know those are his tusks? It could be anyone's tusk.
Have you
Yeah,
seen
it's
his
his tusk in
tusks?
his nose.
Yes,
Oh yeah, I can see the tusk in his nose. Or whatever you call wherever
It's
they
a
are.
mouth, dude. They're canines.
Whatever, man. That's someone else's tusk. He won a joust and took that
stole
tusk as a prize.
He was jousting with his own tusks, and then he stole someone else's tusk. All right, so we now have a history for the tusk. Now we need to find a history for why he's riding a turtle. I think when they revealed this on stream, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was one of the developers. Was like, favorite card, Tuskar Jouster. Why? Because he's a walrus on a turtle. And yeah, I can't disagree with that. I love walruses. All right. 5 mana 5/5 with Battlecry. Joust, as the name implies, restore 7 health to your hero. Now, in any mid-range decks or aggro decks, or not fully aggro, but mostly mid-rangey Paladin decks, anti-kill bolt's better because you can't rely on the Joust. We understand this. However, for Dragon Paladin and for Control Paladin, which are higher end on the curve, against aggro decks, this will be triggering, 80% of the time, and it's a 5/5 against other mid-range and control decks?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm playing this over anti-killbot in every Control Paladin deck.
Yeah.
And questionably in Dragon Paladin. There'd be some math involved there, but
Because you play
no,
4-drops as well and things like that.
Yeah, but I have no question about Control Paladin. This is definitely being played.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good card in those kinds of decks. Slower Paladin decks will play it all the time. It's also a powerhouse in Arena. Might heal you for 7, but it's a 5 mana 5/5.
Yes.
Which will be a little bit worse Pip Fighter around, but it'll still be good.
It's a 5 mana 5/5 out of rare. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, they don't have that many 5-drops at rare, which means if you need a rare to fill your curve, and this is the 5-drop on offer, you'll take it.
Yeah.
Alright, enter the Colosseum. I love that name. 6 mana epic paladin spell. Destroy all minions except each player's highest attack minion. I love this design because it's a non-random symmetrical brawl.
Yep.
Love that design.
This card is great.
Non-random. I love it. The other reason I like
Control
it
Paladin
is...
needs.
Yeah, it works with Tyrion incredibly well, which is nice. And if you have something bigger than Tyrion, which is unlikely, I'm guessing if you have multiple of the same attack, you choose a random one. If you have something bigger than Tyrion, which is unlikely, but you might have it, then you get an Ashbringer. And if you don't have something bigger than Tyrion, you keep your Tyrion.
Does it choose a random one, or does it choose whichever one was played first?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
We should
Regardless.
figure this out. The point is that it's a very, very powerful spell. And also, if you have your highest attack minion can attack this turn, you're in a good place.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Because the thing about Control Paladin before was that Control Paladin stood up well against mid-range decks and other control decks. It stood up pretty darn well, but it actually wasn't good enough against aggro decks.
This also wrecks Patron, because the only Patron that will survive is either a Falling Berserker with tons of attack that has low HP, or it's the Patron with 1 health because of Inner Rage. Yeah, which means it won't trigger. So that's a big deal, because it doesn't take damage. Even with Commanding Shout, it won't trigger again. So Enter the Colosseum is good against Patron, and it's another tool. It's an indirect tool, but it's another tool for these Dragon and Control Paladin decks.
I think this is definitely very good and constructed. I'm not quite sure how good it's going to be in Arena.
In Arena, this thing is bonkers, in my opinion.
You think so?
Well, think about it. If you're behind, it's just a brawl that you know what's going to come out on the other side, which makes it a bit worse than brawl. If you're way behind, you have no board. But if you both have a board, and they just play 2 minions, so theirs is slightly better than yours, you just play Enter the Colosseum, you attack first, play Enter the Colosseum, and then keep your biggest minion and wipe his board, basically.
See, this is why it's difficult for me to judge, though, is because it feels like Paladin doesn't generally have the goods to win after needing to come back.
Yeah, but this helps.
Well, yeah, it helps. Yeah, it helps. It's just one of those things where it's like, if you're drafting this, are you helping yourself win, or are you just delaying losses, or maybe
it's a bit like Light Bomb.
A game.
Light Bomb wipes your board a lot as well, but Light Bomb is still very, very good in Arena. Now, I know they're different classes, but I think the principle is still similar. That, you could have True Silver up to kill his biggest minion.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have weapons up.
In fact, on turn 10, you can play True Silver with this, which will come up a lot in Constructed.
Yep.
Or BGH. That's a fun combo.
But now, Control Paladin can beat Zoo now. That's good.
Yeah, you wipe their board on turn 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Anyway, Mysterious Challenger, we mentioned this earlier. 6 mana, 6/6, epic. Battlecry, put 1 of each secret from your deck onto the battlefield. That is an insane effect. First of all, Arena, 6 mana, 6/6 that tutors any secrets in your deck. Done. That's good. In Constructed, the question is, if you get 2 secrets off this guy, it's worth it, because Paladin secrets only cost 1. So if you get 2 secrets off this guy, I would say that you got big value. If it's 1, it's a bit sketchy, but 2, I think you got really good value. The question is, what secrets do you play? Redemption, definitely. Avenge, probably. Competitive Spirit, and the kind of deck that runs Challenger, I don't know if they're going to have enough dudes on the board, but yeah, maybe. And the other ones you can look at are like Repentance, because if you get it for free and it's a surprise, like, think about it, it's not like you're going to be focusing on Repentance to play around when you have 4 secrets up. Noble Sacrifice, again, if you have Noble Sacrifice and Avenge on the same trigger, that's good.
I have no problem running any combination of those secrets with Mysterious Challenger, because realistically speaking, Mysterious Challenger might be the highest curving card in the deck besides Tyrion.
Yeah, I think the ones I would play personally, at least in the build I would run with this guy, would probably be Redemption, Avenge, and Noble Sack. Those would be my 3 of choice, and I think 2 of those, Redemption and Avenge, I think actually Redemption is the strongest. Then it's, I think, Avenge, maybe that's subjective, and the third one is going to depend on the player and the deck it's in.
Yeah. For me, it's difficult to justify running a Secret Paladin deck without running the Avenge Noble Sacrifice combo, because I think that's a really strong combo.
Because you get them at the same time.
Yeah. And that's one of the most disruptive things you can do for your opponent's turn.
For a Paladin, yeah.
And outside, I mean, I clearly like Competitive Spirit more than you. I think that the secrets are good enough. They're not good compared to other secrets, but they're good enough to have a secret Paladin deck when you have a Mysterious Challenger in the game.
Exactly. Very, very good card. Alright. Eadric the Pure. 7 mana, 3/7 with Battlecry. Change all enemy minions attack to 1. Now, first of all, a lot of people say best card in set. No, it's not. The point is, you'll most likely get maximum if your opponent's smart about it, because keep in mind they have to play around a quality Consecrate and probably enter the Colosseum as well in a deck running Eadric. They will most likely have 2 minions on the board. So you're getting 2 Elder Peacekeeper triggers maximum. That is still a lot of value, but the point is you're not preventing 30 damage, people.
Right.
Like, yes. Seriously.
But this card is very, very good. It
is very, very good. I'm just like, kind of...
Yeah,
like,
temporary.
Bring it down a bit. Yeah, it's no Aviana, but not many cards are. It's a very, very powerful card. It's also a 7-drop, which Paladin don't really have. They have Guardian of Kings. Yeah. So it fits on curve there.
Yeah, it's similarly, it's good in Arena, but at the legendary spot, it has a lot of competition that I'd rather have over this.
I'd rather have a really big minion, but I'm not going to pass this up over some of the smaller ones.
Right. Now, I will say, though, one type of deck that I think is going to be relevant that directly counters this card is going to be Wailing Soul Druid. So keep an eye out for that.
That's going to be painful. You just turn everything down to 1 HP, just like, sounds everything.
Yeah.
That's going to be awful. But then you have a quality Consecrate for those kind of boards. But yeah, I think Eadric is very, very good. That kind of finishes out the Paladin set, which I think is incredible.
I think the Paladin set is the most interesting. I think that Paladin is going to have the most interesting changes.
I think they have 5.5. No, they have 4 cards that will definitely see play. And they've got Argent Lance and Warhorse Trainer, which will probably see play. And then they've got a lot of neutrals, which are almost specifically tailored to them, like Justicar is the best for Paladin. You've got maybe Silverhand Regent. You've got a couple of the other things for Dragon Paladin. I think that this set, all in all, gives Paladin about 10 extra options.
Yes, I think that there are 3 new deck archetypes that have come out of this for Paladin. I think that every existing archetype outside of Aggro Paladin was helped greatly by this set. I think that Paladin got the help that the designers were intending to give it.
I really like Paladin, so I'm happy. Paladin is my favorite class to play with, at least in recent memory. Shaman is up there as well. And my most played class is Druid and Hunter, which we've already done.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you for joining us for this Paladin overview. Next, we will be doing Priest, so stay tuned for that.